Sam Mitchell from Astronomers.
All right. I see my face there. That's a scary thing to see cropping up. Hi, guys. It is a real honor to be interviewed by someone calling themselves the natural progressive. There you go. I thought this would never happen in my life, but here we are. Another adventure begins in the life of Sam Mitchell. So we have survived the collapse of global industrial civilization, and we're back on the air. And I'm glad to
We did have a mini collapse there.
we did.
However, I've got to push back on the progressive part. Okay, really rethink my name. The natural progressive. When it comes to civilization, I'm regressive. So you got to really think that through.
Well,
I'm a,
we're going to talk about that when we turn the tables here and I get to interview you. But right now, I guess it's my turn in the hot seat. So you just fire ahead with whatever's on your mind.
I
Go
will.
for
I have a lot on my mind. um, so, Sam, you have been down this rabbit hole a little bit, a lot longer than I have, like seriously down this realization that we are having a collapse of our entire planet. So, what what turned in your mind to realize that pretty much there's there's not much hope for civilization, or no hope, or maybe civilization should no longer exist and we should let the natural world um move on? And I don't know, I don't think that's even a possibility at this point, but what got you on this train? Basically.
Okay, well, the Cliff Notes version, really down this rabbit hole, I probably would say I started my trip down the what I call the Doomosphere rabbit hole would have been November of 2007 when I stumbled upon the work of Terence McKenna. And anybody not who's down in this rabbit hole, not familiar with the genius of Terence McKenna, needs to remedy that. And he is the one that opened my eyes. I won't get off on the whole advice that Terence gave me to help open my eyes, but if you listen to Terence and take his advice, you will probably know what some of that means. But anyway, that's when I awoke to all of this stuff. It was pretty much the beginning of 2008. As 2008 progressed, I started re-examining what was going on this planet. And we're talking about 11 years ago, what was going on this planet, which seems like the halcyon days of 2008 compared to what we're hearing now. And this has been the focus of my life for 11 years now, I guess, going, being down here in this rabbit hole and just looking at the science. It's no longer opinions. This is, as far as I'm concerned, grounded science that we are on the way out. And every day there is more and more and more evidence, and that the collapse of global industrial civilization is definitely on its way. The bigger question, and I'm cheering that on. We can talk about that, but it's whether the planet that we're going to take the entire planet down with us on our way out is really the discussion we need to be having on this. It needs to be the single biggest topic of discussion on the planet, and nobody's having it. And so that is why I and you and a few other people are having the discussion about the single biggest story in the history of humanity since we climbed down from the trees. And I do appreciate your efforts towards this as well, Chris.
Oh, thank you, Sam. Yeah, I mean, really, this should be breaking news every day instead of the latest movie star bull crap that's going on, or the Oscars, or whatever, random things happening with politicians. I really, honestly, I'm having a really hard time watching any of the horse race with politics right now. I was pretty active in politics. I was a Bernie Sanders delegate and all that. But it seems so fruitless when there's so much going on that politics isn't going to solve, voting isn't going to solve it, and no one's talking about it. They're just talking about little minor things left and right, and we're just being distracted from what's really going on as our planet is dying, our oceans are dying, our biosphere is dying, and nobody is talking about it except for very few people, like you said, like you. And I think this community, there's this little small YouTube community, and it's so amazing how many people share my space, your space, Kevin from Black Bear News. There's just so few people that actually go dive into this and talk about it when it should be a daily story every day on the news. I mean, I'm not wrong,
Well,
right?
it is. It is getting it. Well, I don't watch television news, so I can't address that. I have not had a television since 1998 is when I burned my television. So I don't know what's going on TV news, but what I am finding on the mainstream media news, if you define that as I do, is good old Yahoo News. I start the first 2 to 3 hours of every day of my life. It is I simply go on Yahoo News to see how they are um, reporting on this. And as I've been talking about just recently, that it, you know when I started down this rabbit hole, let's call it 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you really had to work to find any mention of this on the morning headlines in Yahoo News. If you could find one story, even on the science pages, going anywhere near this subject, it was amazing. And 10 years later, after doing this, my challenge has completely switched. It used to be to find one story to talk about and comment on. And now the challenge for people down this rabbit hole, I'm sure Kevin and Sandy or if other people who do this are experiencing the same thing. The challenge now is to edit down
Mm-hmm.
the number of stories coming out right here in the mainstream media. You don't have to be some wacko, down there deep into this rabbit hole. You simply need to open up the mainstream media morning news. As I'm always quoting my old buddy Al Gore, talk about the natural progressive. But 2 or 3 years ago, he was joking. I think he was joking, saying that it's turning into opening up the daily headlines is like a walk through the book of Revelation. And good old Al Gore, the prophet Al Gore, was dead on. So is this a good thing? I think it is. I mean, to see the mainstream media paying some serious attention. Uh, how serious is it? I don't know, but there is, depending on the way you look at it, it's both encouraging and discouraging, of course, at the same time, that this is now a subject that cannot be ignored by the planet any longer. It is literally
Right.
the single biggest story in the history of our species, and it's time that we start talking about
No, you're right. It is. Um, Yahoo News seems to be doing a very good job if that's where you're getting all your stories from, because I watch the news every morning while I'm getting ready for work. not as much as I used to, but it's not breaking news every day. Even when they're talking about the flooding in the Midwest, they're not tying that into climate change, and that's taking up all, a lot of food supply that people were counting on. So I mean, that should be a big, huge story that they're not even going to be able to plant crops this year. And what's that going to do? It's going to domino effect. And this kind of thing isn't stopping, and it should be breaking news every single day, like a meteor is coming at us. And that's not exactly what's happening. I'm glad more people are reporting on it, but it's not on the daily television for sure.
I'm quite sure of that. As I say, since I am completely clueless to the television evening news, I simply cannot. I cannot be in the same room with the TV broadcast news, where my guess is you take the total number of people on the planet, even paying any attention to current events, and probably the vast majority of them are getting their news from television, which is completely hopeless. With the possible asterisk with the BBC, I have been a little bit impressed with some of the stuff coming up, out of England, and maybe some of it'll bleed over to here. The Our own PBS is. I, I'm actually a little afraid they might have gone the other direction. PBS and National Geographic should be ashamed of themselves in this day and age. They really should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, I skipped over a PBS show on climate recent, like this morning they had one, and I don't, I, NPR, PBS, the public broadcasting, they seem to be more establishment and not really representing the people anymore. So I kind of don't listen to them anymore. The only reason I listen to the morning news basically is to get the weather, to find out, how my drive is going to be. Unfortunately, I drive a lot in my job. So, and then you hear things, but on the local news channels, it should be about what's going on right now with the climate change and the flooding and the food supply loss. And when you talk to people about it, they may be, yeah, okay, yeah, climate change is a thing, it's happening, but it's not really going to affect us, till 2100 or whatever, 2050 maybe, but it's affecting us now. And once that tragedy hits you, then you'll realize it's happening. We've had disaster after disaster after disaster. What are we going to do? Rebuild the infrastructure every year, and which is only going to make it worse because of all the supplies that have to be manufactured using fossil fuels in order to replace it. I mean, this is like the
Well,
real conversation no one has.
well, it's a good time to be a Home Depot investor. It really is. If you want to make money off the collapse of global industrial civilization, I highly recommend Home Depot, Lowe's, Caterpillar, bulldozers would be a good place to be investing in. There's plenty of people making a buck
Mm.
uh, off of the downfall of humanity and the planet.
Oh yeah, and I think the whole thing with the Green New Deal, they're trying to do the same thing. Like corporations are trying to profit off of climate change. I I that's just my personal feeling. They want to consume our way out of it. Like, oh, just buy this energy efficient appliance, just buy this electric car, and everything will be fine. But when I talk to other people about it, I get so much crap because I'm such a downer. It's like, no, this is gonna save us. It's not gonna save you. It's not
Yeah.
going to save you.
The
So,
Green New Deal. I have to admit I'm somewhat proudly ignorant on the details of the
good for you.
just the just the name, the Green New Deal, is really about all I need to hear about it. It's clearly a joke.
No,
It's It's a joke. It's every bit as big a joke as the Paris Climate Agreement or the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I assure you, there's a lot of inbreeding between the Green New Deal and the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Climate, all of that. And I need to remember who you're interviewing and keep my language clean. So,
You're on. Oh yeah, because I'm interviewing Sam Mitchell.
yes,
Yeah,
you are.
I may have to interview your twin later on, but for now, or your twin can interview me either way. Um, but for now, yeah, the Green New Deal. I read through it, and of course it's based on the New Deal that FDR did back in the day, and which is based on building new infrastructure, bridges, dams, um, more buildings, all that. Would that help our predicament, our situation at all to put all that energy into building new stuff?
No, it would be as I say, the sick twisted irony of it. Now, you got to keep in mind, and I hope I'm not ruffling any progressives feathers saying
You
this.
might, but
You
that's okay.
realize that the original New Deal was one of the single biggest ecological catastrophes in the history of planet Earth. Certainly, the first New Deal did as much to destroy this country than I'm talking about from an environmental ecological perspective.
Yes, and I just came to realize that like within the last month. Okay, so I am new to that kind of thinking. But when I really started diving into this and I figured out where the problems are, yes, that was
Yeah,
tragic.
exactly. I mean, FDR, bless his heart, as my mama was a dyed in the wool FDR flag waver. As she was being lowered into her grave, she was waving an FDR flag, and she's probably coming out of her grave to slap me. But FDR, innocently did probably as much ecological wreckage to this country and to this planet as Donald Trump is doing. Certainly, if I can only imagine if FDR had just the technology and the budget, what this country would look like. I mean, you can kiss the salmon goodbye if you're a Derek Jensen fan. You know about
Yes, I'm a huge Derek Jensen fan.
well,
Yeah.
it's the New Deal. It's the CCC. It's the WPA. Yes, it was good for jobs. It got people back to work. Get back to work, and
It saved capitalism. It saved
it
capitalism.
saved capitalism.
Capitalism
And
should have died a long time ago. It should have just
uh,
died because that's destroyed it. We should have just been dispersed and not had land ownership anymore. And I don't know. I mean, there's just way too many people to make anything work at this point. Is
but
uh
the Green New Deal is to grow your way economically out of an ecological catastrophe. It is absurd on the face of it.
mhm.
You don't need to dig around very deeply. It's patently absurd, and but it's just one of these things that's going to be touted by the hopium addicts that we're going to that we're going to figure out a way out of this mess that, as James Howard counselor would say doesn't interfere with our God-given right as American consumers to be able to go to Disney World. I guess the Magic Castle is going to have solar panels on the top of it or whatever.
It's
Uh,
not going to work. I mean, the energy just to build the solar panels or the cement pad to put it on, or ah, people don't understand. There's too many humans. Some of them are going to go willingly or not. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen. I'm sorry. I don't want people to die, but I kind of want to save the planet more than I don't want to see people die. So where do you go with that? I mean, how do you look like a compassionate human who cares about people, especially since I have 3 kids, and I don't want anything to happen to them. I have 2 grandkids by marriage, that are 8 and 10, and think of the world they're going to live in. If nothing else, you need to be compassionate enough not to bring more kids into the world that is happening now. And that's my opinion, and I get lots of hell for that, but that's just the way I feel. It's just not right.
Well, unlike you, Chris, I was successful at age 22 to get sterilized. It wasn't easy. That's a whole other story, which has no place on Collapse Chronicles about my vasectomy. But I will say, I have no problem. I'm getting ready to turn 60. And
Mm.
since the day I got my vasectomy, if anybody has ever asked me what is the single best decision you ever made in your entire life, bar none, it was my decision to get sterilized, but before I had any children. And I mean, I never regretted it. But my God, since I went down this rabbit hole, if you think I'm bad now, if I had children and grandchildren in the face of this, good Lord, I would probably be rooming next to Ted Kaczynski, and you would be interviewing me in some maximum security prison.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
the way I feel sometimes. I mean, when you think what they're going to go through, it will drive you crazy. And before, okay, I'm going to get tons of comments because this always happens. I'm sorry. I just have to do this. I tried to get sterilized at age 22. Okay. Before everyone attacks me for having 3 kids, I tried. They said, make your husband get a vasectomy. My husband would not get a vasectomy at the time. And I did have no control. I was on birth control all 3 times. The only thing I could have done is stay celibate in my 20s. And good luck with that when you're a freaking 20-year-old full of hormones. So they wouldn't fix me until I had 3 kids. As soon as I had 3 kids, they would fix me. So that's just wrong. That's
I
just
love that
wrong.
word, and that is the correct word, by the way, to fix you. Uh, breeders are broken. It's the yes, I love it. The sterilized, getting sterilized is getting fixed. It
Mhm.
literally is getting fixed. It
Yep.
is from this point forward. It is the and with each passing day, this gets more hopeless. The only consume. I don't know if that's a consumer choice. The only lifestyle choice that individuals have at this point is to sterilize themselves and to not breed. It is the only consumer and lifestyle choice on any single level that makes any difference. You will do more to quote save this planet by not breeding than every other one. You can take veganism, solar panels, electric cars. You can take every single one of them, combine them, and this has been done and reported on in the mainstream media. Where it was a great article. I remember doing a video on it where they actually showed it like if this were the solar system. Okay, they took the top 10 things you can do as an individual to save the planet, and not breeding was like the size of the sun,
Mhm.
and the other nine, are the planets, a lot like, from Jupiter down to Mercury. It's a joke. You add up every other consumer and lifestyle choice out there, and combine them, and you are not going to hit the the choice not to bring a child into this world, and all of this recent, it's almost become a meme in the doomosphere, where these people who ought to be talked about being ashamed of themselves. I won't name any names. We all know who they are. These people down here deep into the doomosphere, and coming out, and having children, and I'm talking about in the past couple of years. Uh, these people, they ought to be just flat out ashamed of themselves, and they need to be shamed. I've actually interviewed some of a couple of these people, and I don't know. I mean, I'm biting my tongue till there's blood running down my chin. How anybody aware of what's coming down the pike on this planet could decide to bring a child. It is an arrogance. It is a narcissism. It is what Don Juan Matus would call an exercise in self-importance of the most obscene kind.
No,
And
I agree, and you know, it, a lot of it is the fault of the media not informing people of what's actually going on, in our government not actually informing people, because I think a lot of people, if they really believed what is happening, then they wouldn't make that choice. But there's so much controversy. No, we're going into a mini ice age. No, this isn't happening. It's not human caused. It won't happen till way long time ago. 100 years from now, we don't need to worry about it. I think a lot of it
there's
is.
also, Chris, when Kim Kardashian sends out an Instagram on her baby bump, she gets
Oh,
11 million likes.
not
11
just her.
million
That was
thumbs.
a thing. Everyone
Oh, when
wanting to get pregnant to
Beyonce,
take
when
baby bump
did
pictures.
Beyonce have twins? It's like when Beyonce, I think she had two of them. I mean, it was like the second coming of Jesus had just been announced. That the Virgin Mary had just delivered twins. How many people, how many of these impressionable, young women went out and got pregnant so they could be like Beyonce. And
Exactly. They make it cool. And then there's all those reality shows with the 8 kids or the 19 kids, or and growing. Those shows, it's like, oh, I want to have all those kids.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, don't do it. It's not a good idea.
Well, anyway, as I say, I did what I could at age 22,
I
and
tried to do what I could. I tried my
and,
damnedest.
and that is my one piece of advice to anybody of breeding age. If I have one piece of advice to anybody of breeding age, is absolutely do not breed. If you do one thing in your entire life, it's get yourself sterilized, and you can get off all of this birth control and all of this other stuff that's going to give you cancer. But,
Mm.
you're probably going to have a hard time finding, particularly if you're a man looking for a woman, to have a relationship with. She finds out that you're firing blanks, and she's going to move on.
That would have made me happy. I'd be like, yes, that's perfect. But that was me. I was a totally different
Yeah,
child.
well, they're few and far between. Yeah, yeah. My dear
Yeah,
sweet ex-wife, she was thrilled. She was absolutely thrilled.
that's awesome. But I just remember when I was in middle school, mind you, and this was back when people starving in Ethiopia was a big news story, right? And I remember asking my mom, as watching all these starving babies with the bloated bellies. And I'm like, why do they keep having children? Why don't they just sterilize them?
What age did you
I
say
was in
that?
middle school when I was like
There
thinking
you go,
that.
girl. All right, good for you. Good for you. What did Mama say to that?
She did not like that very much.
I
She's
bet
like,
she did
but they
not.
need those kids to take care of them when they get old. I'm like, they all die? Well, they be able to take care of you? I don't know.
Uh, yeah,
Making the
yeah.
resources smaller and smaller, that never made sense to me. And now we're doing the same thing on a planet, a global wide scale, making the resources smaller and smaller for a growing population. Is it doesn't mathematically work out. I don't care if you eat meat or not. I don't care if we get rid of every cow on the planet and grow crops in the fields where the cows are. I'm sorry, we'll need more fields to grow crops or something. Um, and that's taking our biodiversity away and stripping the soils of its valuable nutrients, and some places you can't grow it. And then there's all the environmental changes going on. There's too many guns pointed at our head right now. Just too many. Too
There you
many.
go. Too many guns pointed at our head, and
Mm-hmm.
and one of them is going to fire. Well, not just one of them.
Oh,
There's
several.
at least three chambers loaded in the Russian roulette right now. I would say at least three. Well, there's probably more than three chambers loaded in our global Russian roulette game that we're playing now. People, they think climate change is the only bullet that we need to dodge.
It's not.
Uh,
It's not even close.
and I mean, I guess I'm somewhat encouraged by the fact that a few people are listening, to the climate change angle. I guess that's a good thing, but they tend. I was just reading a an essay by Helen Caldicott uh, on Collapse Chronicles this morning,
I watched
and
that. Yeah.
she was encouraging people to that it's a good thing that we are paying to what she calls the second existential threat on the planet, but we can't get our eye off the ball
Oh, nuclear.
of nuclear that we are closer to nuclear war today, right now, March 21st, 2019, than we have ever been in history. And
Including the Cold War. Yeah, we're gonna have. We actually have a one of those programs planned. We're gonna do a live show about the how people in the Green New Deal are trying to push nuclear power, and what a
yeah,
big problem that will be. That's on the agenda. I have some people lined up to do that. So that's just one of them. And then population Sunday, I think me and Oz are going to do a show about um, population and the problems resulting from that. But yeah, and then biosphere. Oh, but biosphere disappear, like the having no biodiversity anymore. People don't realize that that's going to kill us. Just that, it's
yeah. These new, I guess there's this huge new report that's going to be published in May. I did a little sneak peek on that one yesterday. Unfortunately, the author of that report politely declined. I was trying to get him to agree to an interview, and he says he's too busy, but I'm working on it. I guess there's going to be this huge report that will be officially brought out in May about the biodiversity crisis,
oh
which
wow.
is a if you completely eliminated the bullet of climate change and completely got nuclear weapons and power off of the planet today. It would and I would cheer that on. Don't get me wrong, but just humans going about their daily business, there are still bullets left in the chamber that people are completely unaware of. I mean, the sixth mass extinction, the biodiversity crisis on this planet. From the insects to the entire marine food chain, to the Amazon rainforest with that jackass that's taken over
Bolsonaro.
Bolsonaro down there. I mean, with no help from fossil fuels or nuclear, this planet is going down the tubes with no help from either of those. There's as Ted Turner, my favorite billionaire, my fellow Atlanta, Georgia cracker. Well, was saying back, and he's the father of five, by the way. The billionaire with five children. There's too many people eating too much stuff.
Yeah.
Is what's wrong with this planet. Anybody with a brain, even if you're a billionaire with five children living in a which he was, because I've seen Ted Turner's house. I think it was 20,000 square foot mansion. It understands what's going on, what is going to take this planet down. It's too many people eating too much stuff, and all of this ridiculous arguing going on in the doomosphere, whether it's overpopulation or overconsumption, is the biggest problem. Well, I vote for overpopulation, but it's two heads of the same snake. And then, of course, Paul Ehrlich, he throws in the third one, which is that population overconsumption is just that for the first time in human history, we have the technology to end all life on this planet. All life on this planet, or 99.9% of it, could be gone in the next 24 hours. And we need to live with this. And so a few people now are putting technology. It's the three-headed snake, but it's overpopulation is the mother of overconsumption and technology.
It's the root of it all, right? I mean, overpopulation is the root of every problem we have.
Yeah,
Human overpopulation is the root of every problem we have that we're facing.
yes, it's someone who is never born has the environmental footprint, ecological footprint, carbon footprint of exactly zero. Zero. If you're never born, you will have a carbon footprint of zero. And people just don't understand this. It's all of this, this one camp, we just get rid of those blue meanies, make them go poof, make those one percenters go poof. And I am a strong advocate of making those one percenters go poof, and that the rest of the 99% of the rest of us, after we get rid of them, oh, we'll take care of it. Please. It's the difference between, I call them planet eaters and planet nibblers. Like what's going on in sub-Saharan Africa right now. If you completely take if Africa, if we just, as we need to do, if the rest of the planet just got out of Africa, what's going on there, just from the planet nibblers, as the population of Africa is getting ready to double by 2050 and double again by 2100.
And they have no water. They have no water.
Yeah, no help from the rest of the world. Every single species of Earthling that humans share Africa with is going extinct. There is no saving. It's the last great megafaunal extinction left on the planet, and it's 100% going to be caused by humans this time. I personally think every megafaunal extinction in the last 100,000 years is at least 90% caused by humans. but this next one, what's on the absolute existential horror of what's unfolding in Africa today is 100% due to too many people literally eating their fellow earthlings. And but of course, if you say this, particularly if you're a white male with a southern accent, you are if you state that fact, you are a racist.
That's
That
bull crap. It has nothing to do with race. It has to
It
do with
has absolutely nothing to do with race.
the lack
Nothing
of
whatsoever.
sustainable assets or resources. You it, chickens. If you put them in a pen without anything to eat, eventually they'll become cannibals and eat each other. Okay, horses. You put that too many horses in a pen. It's they will beat each other. Okay, this is my analogy for this kind of political horsemanship. I'm going to bring this in here. You put five horses on a pasture that's lush green grass, right? Beautiful. They're all running, happy, frolicking. You know, the first day it goes down a little, second day goes down a little. Like by the fifth day, it's gone. All the grass
Yeah.
is gone. It's done. So the planet is the same thing. It will only sustain so many people, and horses won't eat each other generally. They may, kick the crap out of each other, but they won't eat each other. But chickens would. They
Yeah,
definitely would.
pigs would.
Yeah, pigs would. Yeah, definitely pigs would, and they'd eat any human that fell in their pen too.
I read Margaret Atwood's trilogy. That's an excellent. If you're into doomsday fiction, the Margaret Atwood Oryx and Crake trilogy, I highly recommend it. You'll find out about human eating pigs.
Hopefully I have some time to read. I do all my research like listening to interviews on YouTube while I'm driving. And then I spend the rest of my time recording or doing my real work. So, oh, dang, I got interrupted. Bear, I got a dog that just bursted in.
Let's see bear. Sancho wants to see bear.
Okay, okay.
See bear.
Let's see. I can't tell. There's Bear and Tough. Tuff,
Bear.
there's Tuffy and
Bear.
Bear. Where's Bear?
Oh,
Oh, there he is. There's Bear. They're all old and Cash. I have four dogs. Okay. And they're all old. They're all like over 13. So they're old farts. Hi, Cassie. You guys couldn't wait for me any longer? Huh? My babies.
right.
See?
Well, I'm glad to see you've got the hounds. Any anybody who is letting all of this getting them depressed and they don't have dogs or some sort of pet. I would say a dog. I just don't get it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I need them. My horses and my dogs, I can uh, I don't know how I would deal with it. I really don't. Not without them. And camping. And camping.
yeah.
I have to do the camping. But dang, okay, we're at an hour. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I do want to talk to you again because this has been such a pleasure to talk to someone who actually I can relate to. Like, it's amazing. um I do a lot of self-censorship, probably a lot because I have kids and I'm always worried they're gonna see it. I talk to them as much as I can, but it is so hard. It's so hard. It really is. I have one daughter that really understands it, um who watches my videos, and I have you know three other daughters and a son. And it's like,
Literally the Brady Bunch over at your house. Well,
yeah,
as you can see, we could go on with this
we
conversation
could. But I think we're
all
at a really good.
long. So hopefully someday you can meet up at one of our Doomer meetups, or maybe we'll all come out to Utah to your
Yeah, you
place.
should. We have a great camping spot up here that's amazing. My favorite place up in the Stansbury Mountains. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, who knows? Never say never. So anyway, come and see me over at Collapse Chronicles, and
I highly
uh,
recommend. Highly recommend. Although most of my
and
people
I
already
really
watch.
and I really don't over on that channel. Unlike some other places on YouTube, I let other people talk on Collapse Chronicles. What I try to do is bring you other people's voices, and just to make the disclaimer that I've made before, simply because I interview somebody on my YouTube channel, that does not mean that I agree with every single word they're saying. Usually, towards the end of the interview, when they start going down that hopium path, uh, we need to be listening. Everybody has something to bring to the table, and so what I'm striving to do on my channel is simply introduce my listeners to other voices who can help them for whatever reason. If you want to be educated about this subject, I'm not advising going down this rabbit hole. It can be a scary, ugly place. But once you start down it, you can't go back. And so, as long as you're down here, I am offering Collapse Chronicles as hopefully a repository of information and just a safe place for you to come on and comment, about the sharing the information and how you in your own life are dealing with it as you come into this knowledge. The most important question, all we can do, there's nothing we can do to save this planet. Nothing. It can't. All we can do is quote save ourselves and try to. As I close every one of my uh, videos, I will close this interview saying, you need to get out there and enjoy it while you still can. That's the 50% of what I do on YouTube is completely misunderstood. It is I am the other 50%. My subterfuge is trying to get people to the point where they understand, as I have come to in my life. All you're going to be able to do at this point is to get out there and enjoy this beautiful planet while it's still there to enjoy. And every day that you're sitting in some office cubicle and stuck in traffic in some car, and to be part of this matrix and in part of this omnicidal culture is another day wasted, where you can be out there and be an actualized human being and enjoying nature, your friends, and surrounding yourself with pretty places and nice folks, clueless though they may be. And that's really my only piece of advice. It all comes down to that: interview after interview after interview. It's get out there and enjoy it while you still can, guys, because it could be gone tomorrow.
That's really a great message. Thank you, Sam, so much. And I know your channel and only a couple others are my sanctuary, to make sure that I need to check ins to make sure I'm not crazy, because living in our day-to-day lives, people will make you think you're crazy once you go down this rabbit hole. But I know I'm not crazy. It just makes sense. So I will say goodbye. So hang on, Sam. So yeah, can do a personal thing. But thank you guys for joining us. I hope you really enjoyed this as much as I did, because he's fabulous, and I really hope to have a chance to interview him again. In the meantime, you know, enjoy life while you still can. Have a good night, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.